My name is Matthew Bennett. I'm a Labour councillor in Lambeth and the borough's cabinet member for planning, investment and new homes. One of the big changes we've seen since the recession has been the growth in self-employment. And I think we look at that and we can see it in two ways. Either that's because there aren't enough permanent employed jobs, and maybe that's a bad sign, or maybe it's actually because we've got a very highly educated, very creative population who are looking to branch out on their own. But given that that's happening, the best thing we can do is provide the spaces, make them affordable, make sure that they are have the right support around them and the connections, so that it's not just someone sitting at home on their own thinking, oh, this is all I can do because there isn't a job for me. It's actually a viable way to start freelancing, using what you know and moving forward and growing into a larger business. So on the one hand, I think we've seen really positive statistics coming out. So our economy's grown by 50% since 2010. Our employment rate now is over 80%, which is very strong for inner London. Unemployment's down to 5%. On the whole, it all looks very positive. At the same time though, we've also seen over 2 million square foot of office space lost through permitted development, where the government allows it to be changed from office to residential without planning permission. That's a huge loss of commercial space in a borough the size of Lambeth. At the same time, and maybe because of that, we've seen asking rents for offices go up by 45%, and the business rate revaluation saw average business rates go up by 36 to up to 51%. So all of a sudden the barriers to entry for people coming in to set up a business or wanting to move into Lambeth have gone up very significantly. And I think we see, we've had a very positive run and it all looks really good. But you look at the barriers to people who are, creative and entrepreneurial in the borough, and they suddenly start to be quite tough to get over. So it gives us a reason to look and say, what more can we do? Tripod is our affordable workspace in Lambeth Town Hall as part of the refurbishment of the Town Hall that's happened over the last few years. We've gone from 14 office buildings down to 2 as part of a wider consolidation. It saves us a lot of money, which in the face of austerity was necessary. But we also wanted to change what the Town Hall meant. It wasn't just a kind of civic building where the council sat. It's also now got space for the local community. We've created new affordable housing, and we also wanted to make sure that we reached out to local businesses and local people who want to get on and succeed. So Tripod is specifically focused on creative and digital industries. We've got a range of spaces down here, from hot desking, where it's £155 a month, which is really cheap to come in with an idea and be in the same space as companies who've grown and succeeded, up to some offices that can fit kind of 8 to 10 people. So really on that threshold of having really succeeded, grown, taken on staff and ready to move on out into the wider world. And we see that as a really important way of us as a council supporting and sustaining local business. Brixton is an incredibly diverse place with a really rich cultural heritage. We are seeing people starting to move from all over London to try and set businesses up in Brixton, but there's a real shortage of office space. So we wanted to make sure that this was a space that people could come into, they could access that broader cultural diversity, they could be seen and really visible as you come in. You can, into the town hall, you look straight down to where it is, but also making sure that when people are coming in and being employed, one of the things we've done for the benefit of the local community is that everyone who works here, or the companies who work here, all need to work on kind of community give back projects and going out and reaching out to local communities, so going into local schools or going onto estates, linking up with some of our, we've got other workspaces on estates in kind of old housing offices on porter cabins, so they're kind of really small, really local, having those connections in here. But also making sure that everyone who's benefiting from affordable workspace here and the lower rents is passing that benefit on, and we've agreed that every company that sets up here has to pay the London Living Wage to their staff, so the benefits are passed out to the people who are employed. When we think about the future of work, one of the most difficult things is actually not knowing what the future will hold, but we do know what we see as the barriers today and what we think is holding people back today. So I think we want much more affordable workspace, we want much more hot desking and the ability for people to come in and link up with other businesses. We're not just doing that ourselves through our own affordable workspace that we're providing, we're also asking commercial developers through our planning policy to provide affordable workspace as part of any big office development in the north of the borough, so they get those connections and those links. But I think more interestingly for us is looking at our population, the people we serve as local politicians. We have an incredibly diverse borough. Every language in the world is probably spoken in our schools. You go into our schools and you look at the kids there, and then you go into offices and you look at the people there. Offices are still predominantly white and still predominantly male. You go into our schools and it's incredibly diverse, and those companies are going to miss out on an incredible amount of talent and opportunity if they don't link up with those schools, and we aren't doing everything we can to make sure that schools are preparing our young people for the kinds of jobs that are available, that our colleges are providing people with the right sorts of skills, and when we look at our own skills and apprenticeships and opportunities that we provide as a council, that we are making them as open and as wide as possible to everything that's available in the modern economy.